Hi, my name is Clay Jessen. This is my technology profile report on the usage of camera traps in conservation biology. A description of the camera trap. It's a stationary camera. It can be either still or video to capture the presence of an animal. It typically uses motion detection or infrared to trigger the capture. It's been used for decades, but it's been a lot more seriously explored by scientists in the last 20 years. What to do with the captures? Large amounts of data, thousands of photographs are then compiled to estimate population size and density. More details of the usage. It can be used for species inventory. It can be used to discover new species and also elusive species. For example, the monitoring of species in a rainforest, very difficult to get to, very difficult to see with the human eye. It is also used, as previously mentioned, abundance estimation, density. It can be used to determine the overall health and ecology of a habitat and to determine population dynamics among species. For example, how do two animals of different genders interact. Here's an example I found on the internet. It is of young snow leopards in Kyrgyzstan, and it is from panthera.org. I found much research on large cat species is done with camera traps. And you can see this is a very remote location. It would be very difficult to see these animals. With a human there, they would obviously sense that, but they do not sense the presence of this camera, or at least they do not show it. Moving forward, advantages of the technology. It's cheaper, non-invasive, more practical when compared to live trapping. What I mean by non-invasive is it does not harm the animal, it does not affect the animal typically. It also allows the scientists to determine individual animal identification because of the quality of photographs and the level of detail they provide. It can also be used as a general public awareness tool to alert the public about animal behavior and conservation concerns. Disadvantages. It can be difficult to control animal movements out of designated areas. Some habitats, cameras don't work as well, for example, wet and humid climates. Getting back to the individual identification, it can be very difficult with species that lack personal markings. And there was a lot of research done on overall integrity of camera trap studies, in that being it is a fairly recent phenomenon in science usage, that there's a lot of modeling that has been very successful, but some models that are not as successful. Costs for camera trap systems include the initial setup, maintenance and travel to devices, which are often located in remote places, can be very costly. And once all the data is compiled, then taking it back to the lab and doing all the computations. Personal connection for me, I interviewed my father yesterday. He is a former scientist, retired scientist, and he uses camera traps for mostly personal use and more specifically for hunting deer. He has spotted many different animals on his farm, including raccoons, coyotes, foxes, rabbits, pheasants, squirrels, even family members that were walking by unbeknownst, and on one occasion spotted human trespassers, other hunters on the property. He also uses the camera to do that personal identification of an individual, and can see where he sees male buck deer moving. He says that determining exact population is very difficult, but he can determine whether the population is trending up or down. For example, one year he noticed that there was a heavy disease going through the deer population, and you would only see possibly 3 deer every 3 weeks. And in very frequent years, he will see 60 or 70 deer in that same amount of time. His personal preference is for the infrared model, as it does not flash, which means it doesn't spook the animal, and the battery actually lasts longer. And here is a video of his camera trap, or several photos from South Dakota. That's a doe, there's a buck, there's a doe or fawn. You can see that one has flash, foxes, rabbit, raccoon. There's my aunt. There's my father hunting. There are 3 deer, including a buck getting a closer look in the rain. This is that individual identification. You get multiple shots of the same deer. And the always popular wildlife selfie. And here are my references. And I also included some other interesting links if you are interested in. There's a wealth of material on the internet. Thank you.